Hey, welcome back over break. You're listening to the 167 and we're feeling 2022. We're so glad that you joined us. Hey, welcome back. It's been a while here at the 167, but we're in 2022.
We are. Don't act so excited, Pastor Lucas.
I was trying to work in the haven't seen you guys since last year joke.
Please don't. Yeah. Please don't.
Man, it just seems like a couple of days ago it was a whole nother year.
Yeah.
I know. Time flies.
I don't know. Yeah.
I did have a little bit of a conniption that this week somebody posted. They said, if you don't think it's been a long year, and they had that Bernie meme where he has his mittens, and they were like, that's 11 months ago. I was like, oh my gosh, that feels like 10 years ago.
That is meme culture, though, man.
There you go.
Moves so fast.
So welcome back, listeners, to the 167. We're so glad that you're still hanging with us, and sorry we shouldn't have left you without a dope beat to step to.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I don't even know what that means.
I get it. Still not happy.
Yeah.
It's a Gen Z or
Don't explain
Gen
it to
X
me.
check.
Yeah, see, that
Yeah.
I don't even.
All right, so today we're talking about what's new in 2022 and kind of a recap of 2021. So I just wanted to start off and just talk about some great wins that we've seen at New Life over 2021, or great wins that you've seen in the church globally. I think Maverick City Music would be like a good.
It's the only people
overall.
making me now. I'm just
Yeah. I don't even know what where'd they get Maverick City music? Anybody know? It's like,
I don't know off the top of my head.
it's like a Wild West Maverick City.
Like it, I didn't know if that was like they're based out of Boston, and Boston is called the Maverick City. You know?
Yeah.
Where isn't their sporting team the Mavericks?
It's Dallas.
Dallas, yeah.
Are they out of Dallas?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think that's the point of this podcast.
I think they're
Lucas.
more southeast.
No, I think that we should. I'm going to start my own sports podcast where I just
Where
come
you
in and go.
just say things because you don't actually. Like, I don't.
Isn't there a team of the Kitty Cats? It's the Bengals.
Yeah. You can bring me in and
There
talk
you
about
go.
hockey because I have no idea. And
We all have to pick a sport we don't watch and talk
Yeah.
about it. Great. So what-
2021.
Yeah, what were
wins.
some wins out of 2021?
Yeah, I'm gonna go first. You guys don't steal it.
Great.
All right. So I think a giant win for us was the big one, having a service out on our new property, whole church coming together, one body, one day, one service. What an incredible day! That was a huge win. Super stoked about that, and heard lots and lots of positive comments from that one event. So I think that was a big win for us, and it was a big win. There was a lot of work that went into that event, but man, it was worth it. So thank you guys for all you did. It paid off.
how many years has it been, like before that, since New Life all had met in a single room?
Like one service.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Like
8 or 10 years, probably.
Was
10
it
years,
really?
maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
it before the Bernie meme?
Well,
Yeah, I think it was the Sunday before the Bernie meme
Yeah.
came
Okay,
out,
yeah.
and yeah.
because were you doing one service when you went into the new building in 06?
No, we were still in two.
You were at two-
Yeah,
you-
we
you
had to go to
kept
two
two?
services when we were in the small building because we were maxed out.
So it would have been
Yeah.
more than probably 10.
Oh yeah, it's probably been 15.
18.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been a long time since we've all been in one service one time. Everybody. Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It was awesome.
That was the looming thing for my head for
That's
a
why-
win.
that's why I jumped in there
no,
first.
You're good. Like honestly, the win for me is that we got back in a rhythm, and while I'm not going to be completely rose-colored glasses. We had things where we had to adjust because people got COVID, and it still impacted our body. We still executed like 2020 was just like blow the whole thing up. Constantly things not happening, constant adjustment. And this last year,
It's like, is that more than 15 people? Cancel it.
yeah. And so this, it was exciting to see things, which I'll shout him down. Pastor Cam kicked off youth conference for the first year, which I think there's some just awesome things.
big
that
win.
It
Big win.
laid the groundwork for. And so I know we're already starting work on that this month for 2022. And so I know that was exciting. I'll let it pass back to you guys for anything.
No, I think that was great. I kind of want to echo that sentiment where it's like 2021, we kind of got back in the rhythm. We started doing some more things And I think it was about halfway through the year, maybe, where we saw a church that had said, like, we're having in-person services again. And we were like, what?
Oh, yeah.
We were like, we couldn't believe it. We were just like, you got to be kidding me that there were still churches out there that hadn't.
Yeah, just full on. I know there was one KC where they were just like, yeah, I think we like this, and it wasn't even really hardly COVID related anymore. They're just like, we like being online.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, there are churches that just decided, yeah, we're done meeting in person. We're just going to do online services. Period. Yeah. And it was like, wow, just a culture shock kind of thing. But I think it's a big win for us that we got back in person quickly. 2021 was a great year for that, and we picked up a lot. Like, there are so many new families, that are part of our church today, that are part of our family because of 2021 and kind of moving. And yeah, we lost some families, and I'm super bummed about that. I never like to see people transition out, but man, we got a lot of new families coming in, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I know.
We're helping build churches around the city.
Yeah, there you go.
It is true. There's some churches
we're kind of like, we're church planters.
The KC metro area is filled with people that used to go to New Life.
We definitely sent some people out this past year, so God bless. I feel it. Because they're not here, and but like Pastor Nick, he had an awesome VBS Kids Fest, made some adjustments there that were changed a little bit and went really well, and Transit Bash was kind of, transit is sort of that odd in-between ground as kids move from Kids World up, and for them to get their own thing where they had worship and they had special events and a color war and everything.
Because they're too young to come to conference. They're too old to be at VBS.
Right. And so it was a cool pivot because, we were starting to see the last couple of years transit and those 5th and 6th graders really disengage from VBS, just because they're kind of getting pushed up into middle school as it is. And so maturity level, it was awkward for them. So this was really cool. It was cool to give them a little bit of a taste and something tailored for them.
Yeah, so pre-COVID, we were right at that 1,000 in attendance on a Sunday, just right at the door, kind of a little over, a little under every week. And then COVID hit, and it just kind of shut everything down. And everyone was saying, we're never going to get back to what we used to be as a culture. No one's ever going to be comfortable being back, in large groups. And what we saw in 2021 was I think a fairly consistent growth from Sunday to Sunday, and finishing the year with a couple of Sundays where we had 900 plus. It was pretty common, a normal Sunday when we'd have, 850, 825, 875. So we're moving forward. I think in 2022, my prayer is that in-person attendance is going to continue to rise. And the reason I think that's important is because that, not just because of how many people are here, but it inspires everyone else then to go and to do what God's called them to do. There's just it's just been our culture where there's strength in numbers, there's encouragement with numbers. It's just been it was a good year in that regard.
When you talk about that strength in numbers, it made me think of the big serve.
That
we went out and served
that was
the
so
community.
cool.
Yep.
And then on the discipleship side, same thing. I want to echo what you're saying. Like, we saw life groups just completely shut down, and you saw people hungry for community. And we did a turbo group this year, and that group has just, like usually like a turbo group, I do a turbo group and people become life group leaders, and maybe you see a couple people don't really make it out of that group. And this turbo group, man, it was just like all those groups are going like gangbusters. Like, we still have people that are kind of on a wait list for life groups. And so I think people are ready to re-engage in community. But you're right, and I think we took a lot of steps forward with digital tools, i.e., this podcast.
Yeah.
Like anybody who's listening to this podcast.
Yeah, that's a win for 2021.
Yeah.
Really.
But we still, I don't think it's a substitute for being in person. There's something about that. You were talking about that this Sunday, there's something about being in person for worship and worshiping with each other.
Yep.
And like, I think one that I obviously you kind of leaned into, but I was really, we were all a little nervous going into move, just because, You know, we'd been through Game Changer. It went amazing, and we were super proud of the church. And you just never know, like when you come back around, you're like, hey, we're passionate about generosity. And to hear some of the stories, which I'm excited we're going to start rolling out here this month and the next. I know you're interviewing people for the 7-minute stories, and to see actual spiritual change come. Like, yes, we are so stoked for the building, but to see life change was happening, that was really, really cool. Because it was, I don't know, it was super weird on the back end. like it was nice because we'd been through it, and I was like, okay, I know sort of what rhythms we're following. But it was odd because you knew where we were going, and first time it was like, what's happening? So.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the direction that we're heading in 2022. We had kind of talked about that as a staff. We said, like, what's the word for 2022? Where do you want to head? And the thing that you were talking about this Sunday, the thing that you told us as a staff, is that you really want to lean into one of the 4, things that we say that this is what we're about as a church, is knowing God, find freedom, discover your purpose, and make a difference. Right. And you said this year you really want to lean into helping people find their purpose. So talk to me a little bit about that. Why is that such a pivotal stage for us as Christ followers? Why is that so important to us?
Yeah. So ultimately, kind of big picture, when you lose your purpose or have no purpose in life, you tend to drift away from people. Isolation becomes the norm because you have nothing to give, nothing to do, there's no meaning in life. So what's the point? And you just kind of, fade away. So a big word in all the ministries here at New Life is connectedness. I think being reconnected or to connect that's a big word for us. And so I think those two things go together, purpose and connectedness. And so we collectively as a staff want to enable people to either discover or rediscover their purpose so that they can get connected or reconnected back to the body. Past 18 months, a lot of disconnections, drifting away, watching online, not being in fellowship. And I think it's taken a toll on the church, it's taken a toll on our community, and it's taken a toll upon the body of Christ, the people individually, taken a toll on them. People have just lost a little bit of their drive and their passion, and it's just not a good thing. So.
Well, I think about that where you see that statistic a lot for men especially, where it's like men retire, and if they can, men that die at their desk, they're dying at like 98 years old, and they're like spry and they're ready to go. And it's like men who kind of retire early and they don't really find something else to do. Right. A lot of times you see that. You see them kind of wilt. You see them, like they miss that, like getting up every day and having a purpose of getting up. And I think you've seen that, like you said, worldwide, community-wide, where people just put on their sweatpants and now they kind of lost that reason to get up out of bed.
Yeah, and so if we cave to the pressures of culture as the church, then what we'll do is say, well, we don't really need to be out. We don't need to be involved. We can do everything from home. We can, we can be fine in our pajamas. We'll be fine, with podcasts or Zoom meetings. And, it's kind of off topic a little bit, but it's just mind-boggling to me that you go to a restaurant or go to a service industry and they don't have workers. Mm-hmm. It's like, where are all these people that used to work? Where are they, and how are they making money? Right. And I think part of it is our culture has communicated as a whole that, well, you can stay at home and you can find something to do from home without interacting with people that will provide money for you, or the government will give you money or something, and you can just kick back and isolate. And short term, small doses might not be a bad thing. But I think over the long haul, in the next 2, 5, 10 years, I think we're going to see a lot of negative fallout of that.
Well, so relationally, like what you were talking about this year about being connected, I think that what we're seeing too is that we have changed the way that we see each other is that I see a lot of people that they view other people as now a threat. You know, it's like that person could have COVID. That person is a threat to me and my family. And so we're not like, so much of the Christianity is, you know, come lay hands on people and pray for them. Come, you know, like sit down and confess your sins one to another. Come worship together. Where two or more are gathered in my, you know, in together, my presence is there. And so just those kind of things, like and what you're focused on this year, and you're talking about connectedness. I see that where it's like, it's not just about purpose, it's about other people. It's like literally changing from this other person is a boon to me, they're a blessing to me, versus now they're a threat to me.
Yeah. Which, like, because I think on the negative side of that, I've got a random factoid beating around in my head. So I'm reading this book called The Wisdom Pyramid by Brett McCracken. It's talking about how to intake wisdom in this day and age. But one of the opening things that it's going through statistics, and one of the things that blew my mind was loneliness, which, you know, was brought on especially by digital isolation and stuff. Loneliness has the same health impact as smoking 15 cigarettes a day on people.
Jeez.
Like, so when you look at this generation raising up in depression and anxiety, like, we have a very real challenge ahead. Not just the depression, but like a health and all this that's going to, you know, it's why life expectancy has started to drop and other stuff.
I think
like
the
that.
long-term
Rates are up, drug use is up.
long-term effects. And, you know, starting this next Sunday, the new series that we're going to be jumping into, I'm going to talk about some of those things like anxiety, some of the social conformity things that have adverse effects on us as the body of Christ. And so
now to the positive side of that, as far as, you know, as we're looking for a year in connection, obviously in my ministry, my focus is it's weekend service. So how do I craft that? But, you know, what's the average listener? How are they going to engage in connectedness? How are they going to, the number one, you know, or combined things, I would say life groups and serving. Like those two things, at least one, preferably both, are how you're going to beat that. Because, and I say that because if you're doing those two, you're there on the weekend. It is going to get you there. And I think exactly, Pastor Rick, you kind of alluded to it, where you can kind of tell when we're in a church season, when people aren't there, people will notice when other people aren't there, and then they'll kind of drift back too. And then all of a sudden, it's like when people come, it's like, oh, it's a weird psychological thing. But it's, and you've talked about it, we've talked about being there for somebody else's breakthrough. This isn't just about you. But that's like, connectedness is going to come in with that. In my world, as far as how are you looking for connection on the weekend service? The first of which would be come early so you can actually see people. You can actually have conversations. You can, you know, check in with people. Like it's open, you know.
Right.
So come early. Don't roll in the middle of the first or second song. Like, that's not a personal offense at me. It's literally for you so you can have fellowship. And then as best you can, prepare yourself for the day. Obviously, if your kids are crazy, maybe it's literally while you're driving, you're sitting in, like, not obviously silence, but you're not saying anything and you're praying, God, please give me grace or something as I roll in. And then that's where I was talking about being the offensive line of, man, okay, once we get into service, we're focused on what, quote unquote, the play is for the day, whether it's service or love or whatever we're focusing on. And hopefully you are able to have that moment in service where God has spoke to you through the word, through the preaching, through a song, and you didn't just come in, you didn't just leave.
Hey, maybe for 2022, we should change our service times, and we should say that, you know, the 8:30 service, change that and say service begins at 8:15. The music starts at 8:30. Right?
So there you go.
Yeah. So service began when you walked in. You know, that's when ministry starts.
Coffee
happening.
and fellowship at 8:15.
It is true.
So you get
It is
there
totally
early. You know, don't come rolling in with no time to let God use you to be a part of somebody else's breakthrough. I'm getting there early, looking around for opportunities to serve, to engage, to impart. something, just a smile, a handshake, a listening ear, any of those things are incredible opportunities. So yeah, maybe we'll change the service times.
Like sticking with the sports analogy, because I know you like it so much.
I love the
with
sports
Pastor
analogy.
Lucas. Like, you're not seeing, even though Patrick Mahomes is a phenomenal athlete.
Who's Patrick Mahomes?
Oh yeah, let me tell you about him.
The quarterback of the Chiefs.
There you go.
Let me tell you about Kansas City's Lord. No, I'm just kidding.
Who are the chefs?
So he's like, there's a reason they're out there hours before the game, warming up and getting ready. And now I'm not saying you need to be at church hours before, unless you're serving, which case you want to. But
You get stretched out, you don't pull a hammy.
it's exactly right. I mean, I almost in the, we didn't have nearly long enough. I was going to go further in my analogy where too many people treat their spirituality like they're Patrick Mahomes. Like, well, I can just go on the run and I'm going to make a throw behind. I'm going to connect with God in this. And it's like, no, you need to be okay staying put, and you have to know the routes. And sorry, I'm having too much fun with an analogy that's going to break down.
I'm going to have to go get my haircut at Sport Clips now to figure this out. No, but I think you're right. And I love that we talk about this a lot, where we talk about worship and we say it's not just singing, it's sacrifice. Because what you touched on is one of the key discipleship principles that we talk about here all the time, which is I already know who's going to stay at New Life and who's not. Because the 3 points of connectivity are exactly what you said. It's, are you serving? Are you in a life group or some form of community here? Bible study, life group, whatever.
Men's
whatever
group,
men's
like
group.
whatever.
Yeah. And then the third one is giving. Because it's like, do you have skin in the game financially? Like, are you willing to sacrifice something in your own life to further the kingdom? So that's a big piece. And then, like I said, and we watch that with people where it's like, we kind of know who's on their way out because they'll cancel their giving, and then they drop out of their life group, and then they start not showing up to serve, and you're just going, oh, this person's on their way out. Because those are the things that keep people connected, is not what church is doing for them, but what they are doing for the kingdom.
Yep. Exactly.
100%.
So when we were talking about that, which is also kind of funny, and it leads into that, because you're like, oh yeah, like, you got to come, you got to stretch out, you got to be willing to do it. Like that is what we were talking about a little bit this weekend, about making opportunities. Like we said, I said,
wow, this is a colloquial we.
What a nice
the
segue,
royal we all said it in sync together.
Yeah.
That and sometimes in order to take an opportunity, you have to make an opportunity. You have to be intentional. You have to, if your kids are driving you crazy, you just keep turning up K-Love ever so slightly, like on the way to church, and be like, Waymaker Spirit, and just
Mom, we can't.
shh, Daddy's worshiping, So it's like making those opportunities. And we were just kind of talking on our way back from the staff meeting today. So I just want to talk with you and have you talk to our listeners about what are some of the opportunities that you're making for personal discipleship in 2022, and maybe a recommend, like, hey, this is a great resource for people. This is what we're doing at home. Okay. What opportunities are you making?
I can start because we had some friends getting ready to do this, and we're going to kind of do it in tandem with them. But Sarah really wanted to we're doing something called the Bible Recap. And I guess we can drop all these in the show notes, can't we?
Sure.
Make work for you. And so basically it's a study guide and then a reading plan that you can get on YouVersion and wherever else. Like, it's in the study guide as well. But it's chronologically reading through the Bible, and every single day there are study guide questions that help you make sure that you read the text all the way through. It teaches you how to use Greek and Hebrew lexicons, and really how to use the text yourself. I did not want to do that this year. I mean, coming off of being in school and doing my own read through, like, I really wanted to do something fun and do some studies. But Sarah, my wife, she wanted to do this because
deep academic dive.
Like, she had just finished a chronological read through and surprisingly didn't like it that much, but she wanted to do it once with more depth and understanding. And so I'm being a good husband, and we're doing that this year. I'm stoked, but it's going to be a lot of work. So
Did you look at it and go, real chronological Bible study hasn't really been tried?
I know. And it also has a daily 7-minute podcast that you listen to. So a lot of links to videos. Like today I watched the Bible Project video on Job and stuff. And so that is the large chunk of spiritually what Sarah and I are stepping into this year as a family.
Yeah, for me, going to attempt. My goal is to listen to God's word, read God's word, either just have it playing or actually open the Bible before I do anything else. Before I check emails, before I first thing. And when I say I might listen to it, there's going to be days where I get up, I'm taking a shower, I just put my phone and have it where I'm listening, getting my mind wrapped around God's word before anything else.
You have a shower radio?
I almost just asked, does anybody have a line on that? Like, I'm always like, I want to listen to a podcast in the shower.
They do have.
Like a
I don't
waterproof
have
Bluetooth
one,
speaker?
but I'm thinking about just taking my phone and putting it in a little part of the shower that doesn't get wet. And
I've done that before.
Little container.
Just see how that works.
I'll be in the middle of a podcast and be like, I want to keep listening to it.
So if I wind up with a new phone here before long, you'll know that didn't go well. But it's January 4th, and I'm doing pretty good so far.
Hey,
I've,
4 days.
Yeah, I've done most days. I've been successful. So
That's good.
How about you, Pastor Lucas?
Chris and I are kind of doing what we normally do. We were talking about this where I finally shared with the congregation. I was like, oh, this is what we do. We listen to the same podcast. I'm watching some Right Now Media with the girls. And then with our littles, we watch Right Now Media with Veggie Tales, things like that. And then we watch Kids World Online. And so I came home the other night and she's like, well, since you told everybody. And so she took a stab at this really in-depth study that we're doing by a guy named Chuck Missler. And the guy is he's talking about Genesis through astrophysics. And
I know Chuck.
Yeah, it is thick. And so I was like, we don't have to do, but I'm supporting her through it. It's like a 24-day.
Yeah, so you're a 7-minute podcast. A recap is then coupled with Chuck Missler's.
This is like an
13
hour.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's read through the Bible in 24 hours. So they are 24 1-hour sessions where he does a survey. And like I said, last night he was talking about heaven's existence through hyperspaces and 10-dimensional reality. So it's not for everybody. So, but it's one of those things where.
But if you listen to it in the shower, it makes a lot more sense.
Exactly.
So we're all kind of taking large chunks at stuff. What about for the person who's not doing anything?
Well, a couple of the resources we mentioned, Bible Project videos, wonderful.
Oh yeah.
Wonderful resource.
Yeah, Bible Project is good stuff.
And then, like I said, I can't recommend enough what Right Now Media is doing. Like if you are a member of our church, you go to newlifegardener.com/rightnow, and it'll let you set up a free account that we are paying for as a church. It's not free, it's included.
Yeah, let's be real.
So we're paying for you to have an account, and it's just there's marriage conferences on there.
Yeah.
There's Bible studies. There's some great stuff. One of my favorites on there is there's a study on Judges by J.D. Greer. My teenage daughters right now are watching a Sadie Robertson Huff study about Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So it's a survey through Daniel called Fire and Faithfulness. There's so many great resources on Right Now Media.
Yeah, and this isn't earth-shattering or new stuff, but it's easier to stay disciplined in completing a task, whatever it is, if you have other people a part of your life doing it. So if you're doing it with other people, which brings up for all the ladies that are listening or watching, the read through the Bible on Sunday mornings. With Trudy, it's something that she does every year. And
in the office's 10 o'clock service.
Yeah, during the 10 o'clock service. It's a challenge, and not everyone makes it through. But those who do know a lot. Yeah. You pick up a lot of information, and it's transformational. So that's another option, to do it with a group of other people to help hold you accountable.
Yeah, so we can't wait. Hope to see you guys. Hope you follow us all through this next season. So...
Adios.
See you later. If you enjoyed this episode of the 167, make sure you like, subscribe, follow, get notified, leave a 5-star rating and a positive review. Tell all your friends to listen as well. Make sure you go over to newlifegardener.com and check out all that we have to offer as a church, and check out our messages online as well. Thanks for listening.